Hello, everyone. So this is going to be an informational video regarding the data collection practices of the Watchtower organization, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, and their local congregations. About 2 years ago, I was fairly indifferent to this subject. But because of the suggestion of a friend, I requested the documents that were being held by the last congregation I was in, and also the branch office of my country, and thus started a long process that involved government agencies, the courts, the Supreme Courts, privacy commissions, and of course, the Watchtower was involved. All of this was to access my information that my congregation and the Watchtower had collected about me. So thus, I have learned a lot about their practices, and also equally important, I've come to learn how important this issue is. So possibly by you learning about their practices and their flow of information, you might come to realize how important this is as well. And you also may disagree with the amount of data they have about you, and maybe you'll want to do something about it one day. So that's why I've decided to do this. This will be a 5-part video series about the Watchtower's data collection process. It's fairly in-depth. It's a little nerdy. So, instead of doing 1 hour-long video, I thought, well, we could just break it up into 5 parts. And we will go through it as detailed as we can. Before we get started, something needs to be said here. I cannot fully guarantee the accuracy of all of the information. I think for the most part, the information is correct. But if you hear something in these videos that you know for a fact is wrong, definitely comment. This is going to be a broad video about their data collection practices, and it's possible that some of the details may not be quite accurate. So definitely feel free to comment. The thing is, with the Watchtower's data collection policies and practices, they are constantly changing. A lot of this is because of legal challenges that they have faced. So, literally even what I say here today could be different tomorrow. Also, they can be slightly different for each country as well. So again, this video is meant as a guide for you to understand their policies. And, I think it will work at giving you a general idea of what their practices are. So where did I get this information? I got this information from various letters from the Watchtower, from the Shepherd, the Flock of God book, which is the Elder's Handbook. I got it from direct experience and conversations with elders, also leaked videos, and my experience dealing directly with the Watchtower organization, directly with, on this topic. So also, if you're interested, there's, a lot of great information on avoidjw.org. You'll find a lot of information about that there too. But I thought that this video was needed, and I've suggested it to various YouTubers over the years, but nobody's really done it. And in fact, there could be other videos about it too that I haven't seen. So I thought I would do one here, or 5 videos, and try and put all of this information together so that you have an idea of what is going on. So, like I said, this is going to be a 5-part video series. The first video, which is this one, is going to deal with publisher information. The second video will deal with moving, when you move congregations. The third video is going to deal with the appointments and deletions of elders and ministerial servants. The fourth video will deal with applications that you maybe have sent into Bethel or your branch. And the fifth and final video will be the biggest one, and that is to do with judicial meetings. That's very important. So let's get started. This video, we're going to start with our first area of the Watchtower's data collection practices, which is publisher information. All right, so here we have what's called the S21 Form. This would be a typical publisher record card here. This is going to be a record that is compiled by your secretary in the congregation. Now, the secretary will use either this form or they're going to use a spreadsheet program like Excel that's going to compile all the same information. And this would be considered part of the congregation files. And so thus every publisher would have one of these publisher record cards. Now, the publisher record cards are split up into categories, and we won't really get into that too much, but what we will say, and it is important because it has to do with record keeping, the secretary will split them up between active and inactive publishers. So we can see the information that they collect. They collect your full name. They also collect your gender, your home address or last known address. They would have that. Your telephone number, your cell phone, and yes, they will have your date of birth. If you've forgotten that you gave it to them, you probably did. They would have your date of baptism, whether you are an of the anointed or the sheep, and your status as elder, ministerial servant, or regular pioneer. And then every month, they're going to collect all of your information here, all of your service-related information. Now, in the past, this form actually had quite a lot more information on it, but I don't know when that changed, but I think it's changed for quite a while. Right now, it's only this information, but it's still a significant amount of information. There was a time when even Judicial Committee remarks were placed on here, and now, just so that you know, on these S21 forms, they are not supposed to record anything with regards to judicial committees and the results of the judicial committees. So now each year, the secretary of the congregation is supposed to review the records, the congregation records and the publisher records, and destroy the records that are not needed. So what records then are kept and what records are thrown away? Well, active publishers, obviously they're still going to keep your publisher record card. And they're going to keep the records from the previous year and the current service year. Now, inactive members, they only keep the records from the last service year. Now, there is a difference here as well between when an individual is disfellowshipped or disassociated. In that case, it used to be that the last 12 months of records were kept. But now, the latest information that we have is that the S21 form is in fact not retained. So if we were to summarize that, the active publishers obviously have their publisher record card and their information from the current year and the previous year. And the inactive individuals have the information from their last service year, and the disfellowshipped and disassociated have theirs thrown away. So it would appear that if you are just simply inactive, it is possible that the congregation still does have your S21 form. If you were disfellowshipped or disassociated in the last few years, it's probably that the S21 form is destroyed, or at least it's supposed to be. Now, remember, these records are not in written form. They are in digital form that the secretary has. Now, the secretary is supposed to delete these records, but obviously, regular publishers and any individual doesn't really have a way to verify whether or not these files were deleted. But the records that are supposed to be deleted, they're supposed to be deleted. Okay, now as well, along with the S21 form that we're talking about, under the subheading of publisher information, we also want to talk about the S290 form. This is a consent form that the congregations and the branch, the Jehovah's Witness organization, has asked their publishers, their members, to sign. Now, I'm not sure if every country has in fact got this document and if all the publishers have signed it. But I would imagine it probably has made the rounds to the whole world by now. I definitely did not sign one of these when I was a member, but I would imagine most publishers now have seen this. And the congregation and the branch is supposed to keep this document as long as they have any other records retained. So if the congregation or the organization itself has any records on you, they are also going to keep this consent form. Now, you'll notice even minors sign this consent form, because at the bottom you'll see there is a spot for a parent or a guardian to sign this document. Now, another point that needs to be made here that is very important is, and I think this is a good time to mention it, any records that have anything to do with child sexual abuse, any of those records are supposed to be kept indefinitely. They will be put in a file that is marked "Do Not Destroy." So in all of the organization's literature where it talks about data collection, it's very specific that if an individual is even accused of child sexual abuse, any records associated with that individual are to be kept indefinitely. And from my reading of the information, it would appear this does include publisher records. Now, there's one final thing that we wanted to talk about, or I wanted to talk about, with regards to publisher records, and it's very important. And that is the program instituted by the Watchtower organization in approximately 2017. And this was called Publisher ID. This is where publisher data is uploaded to the jw.org portal. This would be the hub. And this program was called Publisher ID. Now, in approximately 2017, it was reported that approximately half of the U.S. publishers had been uploaded to this portal so far. So 2017, half the publishers in the U.S. So where are they now? Well, I would imagine, and obviously I'm guessing here, and maybe other individuals have more information than I do, I would imagine that most publishers now have been uploaded to Publisher ID. Now, of course, they're going to need this consent form signed. So the S290 that we talked about. So if there is countries in the world where this form has not been circulated, then it's probable that those individuals have not been uploaded to Publisher ID. So thus we can say, if you in fact have signed this consent form, it is highly likely that your information is on Publisher ID. Okay, so I think that's where we'll leave this first video with regards to publisher information. We've went over the S21 form, the publisher record card, and how that is used, the S290 form and the consent to collect data, and also very importantly, the Publisher ID program, where publishers' information is collected and uploaded to the Watchtower's database. Now, our next video will be with regards to information collected from moving congregations and what personal information is transmitted there. Later on in these videos and near the end, we'll probably we will talk about the importance of information and the repercussions that can happen because of the collection of this data. But I think for this video, we'll just leave it with a quote from writer and activist Robin Morgan. She says, "Knowledge is power. Information is power. The secreting or hoarding of knowledge or information may be an act of tyranny camouflaged as humility."